The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery, but the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box presented by Genesee Brewhouse. Nice to have Pickin Splinters, Paul Gotham back with us.
Happy to be here.
Talk a little high school. Tariq Spence co-hosting the Pride of DKX.
I love to be here for the summer.
All right, we have Tariq. And what are you wearing there, Pat?
Well, in honor of Tariq being on the show, my Tariq Evans Rochester Royals Sacramento Kings throwback jersey. Completely by accident, I knew Tariq was going to be on when I picked this out last night. But we'll go with that. We'll do it.
Who wore 13?
Tariq Evans.
We just had the Section 5 Hall of Fame ceremonies out at Frontier Field, and it occurred to me as we're watching these guys, and Chris Bostic's playing for the team against him. John Schwind is in with the next team. And says all of a sudden, we're sprinkled all over the minor leagues. We're producing baseball players at an alarming rate. Why is this happening?
And don't forget Danny Mendick, who's playing with Chicago White Sox AAA affiliate, the Charlotte Knights. He just hit his 14th home run. Why is this happening? I don't think you can pinpoint any one thing, other than the fact that we have a lot of great coaches, a lot of great programs around the area. Most recent thing that I have, we're helping cover the Upstate Baseball League. And last night, Johnny Ricotta is now a coach in the Upstate Baseball League. Johnny Ricotta was a star at Greece Athena. Then he went on to MCC. Then he was a star at Ball State University, Division I, all-conference player. And now he's back working with these young kids. And you can't tell me that the amount of an impact that a player like that coming back into our community and working with younger players has. We have so many examples like that over the last 20 years, and I think that's what we're seeing right now.
To put it in perspective, Ken O'Day. Do you even know who Ken O'Day is?
I had to look him up. 1913 is when he was born.
This was the guy. He was the last everyday baseball player that Rochester had produced until Andy Perino just recently, and this guy played in the 40s.
It's so interesting to see how you get a hotbed of a sport at that particular time. I think it happens in hockey, it happens in basketball. You've seen a couple of different players come back, like Tyler Ralph and Anthony Iglesias from McQuaid, and you'll see them sort of bring back, and this is a big thing that's happening in sports, a lot of just development schools. Where guys are coming back, they used to play here, whether it's in Hilton or whether it was at Gates or wherever it may be, and they're coming back and they're doing these academies now, and they're getting back to their home roots again and setting up different stuff across the country. So what's great about it is now they haven't just left and not gone away. They're coming back and bringing skills, and you're seeing some of that too. Baseball's pretty big in the area. You see how well Penfield did for Little League, and so there's always going to be that field of Little League baseball and then continuing on. But there's so many places to play. That's what makes it so much fun.
Well, you're not wrong about that, but I think what's unique about baseball, like, hockey, there's 13 sheets of ice within like a 10-mile period here, right? Like, or a 10-mile area. Basketball, you just need a gym. Football, you just need a field. Baseball season is so short in upstate New York. Like, you can't even get the high school seasons off without pulling your hair out. That's what's so remarkable about the amount of baseball players is in just 4 months of actual baseball play, 5 months that you get in upstate New York, you still have these kids making it to the highest levels of professional baseball. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, to that point with the hockey, too. I just dated myself. I came to town in 1980, and besides the War Memorial, I think there were only 3 hockey rinks back then.
And there's no sign of it slowing down with the baseball, because now we had the occurrence of the 2 former Section 5 guys, Adam Scott, Ernie Clement, playing together with the Akron Rubber Ducks, a AA Eastern League. I don't think we've ever had 2 former Section 5 players playing together on an affiliated team.
I'm even thinking now major leagues at the same time. But your best educated guess, if all these guys pop, at any one time, what do you think the possibilities for Rochester to be represented in the major league?
I don't know about that. I will say this. Guys? We now have that Futures game as part of the All-Star weekend. I will predict within 10 years we will have a player in the Futures game.
Pretty cool.
When you look at, you got Gage Zeal, who he's going to be a junior at Penfield, played with the United States national team. Casey Sauke II, the Greece Athena kid, Casey's going to Virginia, and Gage is going to Miami. Those kids are going to have big careers in front of them.
I love this. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. We talk Buffalo Bills next. The Press Box is brought to you in part by Bay & Goodman Pizza, a local Rochester favorite. Corner of North Winton and Browncroft, Bay & Goodman Pizza. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us on the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Pat, you're out at the Bills camp every day.
Every day, broadcasting live in the break room. Yep. Having a blast. It's
Having a blast.
Yes.
Is that the truth?
Yeah, of course. Would I lie to you, Bill? You think it's hard to do a radio show amongst press conferences and players throwing medicine balls against the wall that you're broadcasting from? You think that's a hard thing to do?
Yeah, but it's 90 degrees.
Yeah. And so how are they doing?
You're getting to the point now where you're a couple practices in, so you see what's really going on. And, the folks that you're expecting to perform well are performing well. You're not seeing a lot of the Sean McCoy or Frank Gore. Josh Allen's making the strides we hoped he's made. But it's the folks that you expected to perform well that aren't, which is interesting. We've been talking about Robert Foster, the Bills wide receiver, all offseason. He gets cut in the middle of the season last year, comes back on, makes the roster again, and all of a sudden he's Josh Allen's favorite target. He has been disappointing, I think, to say the best. He's been having drops all over the place. You've got the free agent wide receivers that the Bills signed in Cole Beasley and John Brown and a couple other guys that are outshining him. And it seems as if once it gets in his head, things become a problem for him. There was a question whether or not he was going to be the number one wide receiver for the Bills this season. And now we're getting to a point of, I don't know if it's this bad yet, but let me just say, if he didn't make the roster, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, what are they doing here? Pretty shocking how in a matter of 7 practices, a guy can go from potential number one wide receiver to 4, 5.
It seems to me that this team, as much as any in the NFL, is looking forward to playing a preseason game or two.
Well, they need to. I mean, the Colts game will really tell you what's going on. They're a young team, too. If you think about the veterans they have on the team, you're not going to see Gore, you're not going to see a lot of McCoy, but everybody else is extremely young. Their defense has got Alexander as well as Hughes. They're veterans on the team, but I'm interested in seeing their growth on the defensive end, because it's time for that young core to really step up and help with the veterans. I like Josh Allen. I think he's going to have a pretty good year, depending on if he goes to Beasley. Zay Jones has got to step up. This is a big year for Zay Jones. If he does not step up, I don't know what Allen's going to do. He's going to be running for his life out there.
Zay Jones is one of those guys, it seems like every year is going to be a big year for Zay Jones, and he's never going to quite cross the line into saying that he's got it made. He's always going to have to be proving himself.
Yeah, you mentioned the experience and bringing guys up along the way. It's great to see Kyle Williams at practice and his influence. I mean, this isn't throwing any shade on the Bills, the Super Bowl teams and how those guys used to always be around. But I think it's better to have Kyle Williams, who is just recently on the team, is more in touch with those guys and how he can help them along the way.
I love the fact he talked to Ed Oliver. He's talking to different guys on that team to understand what you're bringing in. They're building off of this now. Remember, not too far ago, they were a playoff team. I know it's sort of the glory days of this last few years, but I think they're in this transition, which gives me a pause to get rid of McDermott. I don't think you should. I think you're actually building a team the way you're supposed to now.
No matter what happens? Because
I honestly,
4 things that can happen where I don't want McDermott back
well,
anymore.
I mean, listen, let's get to the first preseason game first.
No, I'm not saying blow them out now, but listen, I mean, there are a lot of people that are making that point that you made. No matter what happens, give them that 4th year just for the sake of
the 4th year.
No, here's why you're wrong and being dumb.
Please tell me. I'd like to know.
Sean McDermott, roster-wise, motivation-wise, fine. I can get behind what he's doing. Like, he's rebuilt this roster to a point where you have guys that want to go out and play. In-game coaching is a huge weakness for Sean McDermott. Now, I don't know in today's NFL if that matters all that much with all the people that you have in your ear, but Bills fans that watch these games know. Guys that are NFL people know. He's not aggressive enough. He's going to make poor decisions, and I don't know if he puts his players in the best positions to succeed, and that scares me about McDermott. So if you win 6 games this year, and it seems like 6 wins will be the line of demarcation, I would be okay if you decide to go in a different
That's
direction.
the old Bill psyche we were talking about before. You think it's going to go bad and it will go bad. I don't. I just see a lot of future young players on this team that you have to let them go.
And you have to allow that he might get better.
Sure, okay, fine. Quick point, though. Quick counterpoint. This time last year,
Yeah.
Sean McDermott was naming Nate Peterman their starting quarterback.
Oh,
We'll talk about him in a minute.
Please do.
This is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Like it or not, is next. Here's the Press Box trivia question brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Here's the Press Box trivia answer brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us on the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Like it or not, we talked about him. Nathan Peterman.
Well, maybe a coastal change will be better for him. But
He's in Oakland, just to point out. He's trying out for the Raiders.
Yeah. But then I thought about where did he throw those 5 interceptions? Oh, yeah, San Diego. So here he is with the Raiders, the backup quarterback, possibly the car. Now, the coach said that he's growing on me. Gruden said he's growing on me. Plenty of things can grow on you. That doesn't mean that they're good. I think Peterman, for now, from what I've seen, is one of those guys that's a great practice player and just can't do it in the game. And I don't know if he'll get that opportunity. We'll see if Carr gets hurt. I hope he doesn't. I hope Raider Nation he doesn't. But it's Jon Gruden, the same guy that got rid of wasn't that the best defensive player in the league last year, Chicago? Yeah. So I'm not sure if the league is sort of past Gruden, but the record will tell.
Yeah. You've always been a big Peterman guy.
I don't get it. I don't understand because we talked about it on Wednesday morning in the break room this week about how Gruden makes these comments, and we had listeners, Bills fans, who had been to practice and camp and watched games saying that Nate Peterman needed a change of scenery to be a successful quarterback. He is statistically the worst quarterback in NFL history. I'm not making that up. That's a legitimate stat, and I'm not trying to crap on a guy, right? Like, he's a try-hard guy. He does his best. Sometimes you don't have the skill to be in this career. I don't think he has those skills. And how he has a job, how somebody gave him a shirt with a number on it, with a helmet, is beyond me. Because a guy like E.J. Manuel just retired because there was no opportunity for him in the NFL, and then Peterman, here, try it again. I like
it's
him.
Great on Gruden's board. You remember he goes to the board and he says, hey, drop a play for me, kid.
But
it's great.
Go back to last year. If you're going to have an open quarterback competition, last year there was no way you couldn't give it to Peterman.
Yes, you could.
He was completing 80% of his passes.
In preseason to a wide receiver who caught 8 passes the entire season in Kelvin Benjamin? Listen, it was stacked against McCarron from the beginning, and you weren't going to start Allen. I was screaming this all last offseason that they knew Peterman was going to be the starter, and they gave you the illusion of a quarterback competition. There was never an open competition. They made him look as good as possible. It bit him in the you-know-what. Fine. But now that Gruden's on board, what are you, nuts?
Wouldn't you love those games back for Allen for this season? Would you have put Allen in that spot?
Game. He only made it 30 minutes.
I know, I saw that.
Sorry, I'm getting very angry.
5 interceptions. I mean, that's the way it goes.
Paulie, like it or not, Trevor Bauer's parting gesture for the Cleveland Indians.
Oof. Terry Francona has a reputation for maybe being a little too patient with his players, maybe to a fault. And now he's going from Trevor Bauer to Yasiel Puig. And this could be interesting. Now you put Puig in a lineup with Reyes, who was also acquired in that trade. You have 2 guys who could hit 30 home runs.
Is the deal connected to his throwing the ball out of the park? Do you think?
Well, he was already on the trading block, right? No, let's not forget, he was the player with the drone in the playoffs a couple years ago. Yeah. And so the maturity was there. Drone boy. So we've had those 2 obvious gestures of maturity are out there. Those can't be the only ones that are going on in the clubhouse and everyone else is seeing it. I think it was just one of those things. It was great how Francona goes out to get him and doesn't shake his hand.
I'm just glad he's going to the National League. instead of where.
He said sorry afterwards. He went straight to Francona's shoulder and said, "I'm sorry," and he just said, "Go over there. Go sit down."
We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business is next. And now here's this week's MVP Experience Stat of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips, where it's good to be a guy. No appointment ever needed.
And now to Eichel. He floated one.
Unwrap a sweet escape at Dunkin' with Hershey's Cookies and Cream and Heath flavors in your favorite espresso drinks. And make it even more delicious with a $2 medium latte or cappuccino between 2 and 6 p.m. America runs on Dunkin'.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin'. America runs on Dunkin'. Pat.
Let's talk about the most entertaining thing that's happened in Major League Baseball in a very long time. All-out brawl. Reds, Pirates. Tuesday. And the best part of that brawl, despite the fact that you have a guy sprinting to an opponent's dugout from a mound while he's being pulled to throw a haymaker punch, is a man who's no longer a member of that team fighting on behalf of his team. Yasiel Puig had been traded just a couple of minutes before that fight happened. In fact, if you watch the clips from the game, you can see Yasiel Puig has been traded by the Cincinnati Reds to the Cleveland Indians as he's throwing punches in people's faces. It turns out that Yasiel Puig knew before that fight started that he was no longer a member of the Cincinnati Reds, which means he was fighting on behalf of people that were no longer his teammates anymore. It means one of two things. Either one, Yasiel Puig is the greatest teammate that ever lived, or two, he's out of his freaking mind. And I'm worried that it's two. You're talking about the problems in the locker room in Cleveland. I want to know how the brass in Cleveland, knowing that Yasiel Puig was no longer a member of this team, knowing that he knew throwing punches made them feel when they popped that game on the other night.
You know, it's funny. Statistically, fighting has been almost eliminated from hockey. I wonder if, baseball's just trying to replace it.
Yeah, it's not a bad. Well, how about you just have him skate from center ice and throw a haymaker to someone at the dots? Because that's essentially what happened.
Here's what happened.
It's kind of like hockey and tractor pull all
It was
together.
awesome. I love it.
It's very good.
What's
very
the
good.
tractor pull?
I don't know.
Congratulations goes out to George Valicente. We mentioned the Section 5 Hall of Fame induction. The longtime Ithaca College coach recently retired from Ithaca College. 41 years. 41 years he coached at Ithaca. Get this, Division III. He won 2 World Series at the Division III level, and he had 42 draft picks at the Division III level, which is amazing. Talk about his influence on Rochester baseball. Roger Klimek, the now retired Greece Odyssey coach, went and played for Valicente at Ithaca. Roger's son, Steven, is now playing in the Baltimore Orioles organization. Roger's other son, Ryan, is the video analyst for the Orioles. So congratulations goes out to George Valicente. Thank you for your impact on Section 5 baseball.
You never go wrong bringing up Ithaca College here either.
Yeah, right.
Class of 74.
You're the only one left, bro.
I know. Where's Mike?
The cheese stands alone.
So true.
First of all, for Jeremy Lin, a very emotional speech where he feels as if the league is done with him. I'm not here to harp on what he said or make fun of what he said. He's really in an emotional spot because it might be the end. I don't think it is. I actually would wait until they bring in players for camp. There are injuries that always go in that would love a veteran point guard. So Jeremy Lin might have some more NBA left in him. But to his point, there is no way to script the end. For Carmelo Anthony, I would have never thought his career would have ended after doing what he did at Syracuse, going to Denver early in his career, then over to the Knicks. I would have thought he would at least have a ring somewhere along the line. He's not in the league. Jeremy Lin, you still have a chance to make it to the league. Carmelo Anthony, you might have a chance to get back in the league. It's not over yet, but it just goes to show you in sports, you sometimes don't get to write the ending like John Elway did.
You rarely do. Actually, Jeremy Lin has got one of the most amazing accomplishments, I think, ever, is appearing on the cover of Sports Illustrated in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah,
and a guy who was otherwise was a journeyman.
Yeah, so big was Linsanity. And it got him a contract. So, I mean, he's not going to, Harvard educated. He's not going to go broke. As far as I know, I don't handle his finances, but he had a great career. And
Good thing.
but it is an emotional moment when somebody says your services are no longer required.
Is Anthony still in the camp? Has anybody got him?
Anthony works out on Instagram. That's all I see. I'm just serious. That's all I see Carmelo Anthony do. I'm hoping maybe Lakers. I'm hoping somewhere along the line he gets the Dwayne Wade final sort of tour of the NBA.
For what though? Dwayne Wade did stuff. Dwayne Wade did a bunch of stuff. Melo was like, hey, look over here.
Same draft class. You know what that is.
So
That's a
can't-
tight.
I would have been in that draft class too. Hey, should I get a farewell from all?
Yes, you should. I would want you to have that. Why do you not want Carmelo Anthony to have that?
I kind of lost control of the show here. We have the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business and Some was presented by Duncan. America runs on Duncan. Paul, thank you. Tariq, great job. See you next week.
Thank you.
Pat, as always, thanks for joining us. See you next week for the Rochester Press Box.